My name is Ruben Castellano, and for the last 6 years, I've been the night man at a hotel that hasn't had a guest since before I was born. That's the job. That's the whole job on paper. The Alderwood Grand sits at the end of a county road 40 minutes from the nearest gas station. 4 stories of brick and stone that used to matter. And it closed to the public in the 60s, and it never reopened. And it never got torn down. And somebody has paid every year for 60 years to keep a man inside it overnight. I'm that man now. I watch an empty hotel, and I'd have told you in my first week that it was the easiest money I'd ever made. And I'd have been wrong, but not in the way you're already guessing. It took me a long time to understand what I was actually watching. It wasn't the rooms, it was the windows. Let me give you the ordinary version first, because there is one, and it lasted a good while. I got the job the way you get any bad job, through somebody who's leaving it. I was 31, out of work, behind on everything. And my sister Marisol had put me up in her spare room with her 2 kids underfoot, and I was applying to anything with a pulse. A man named Ford Okafor, who ran a small property management outfit that handled odd estates, called me about a caretaker overnight remote property. Live-in optional. Pay that was better than it should have been for sitting in a building all night. I took it before I'd seen the place. I'd have taken worse. The Alderwood is beautiful in the way old money is beautiful, which is to say it was expensive once and nobody's spent a dime on it since. Grand lobby with a marble desk and a staircase that curves up into the dark. A dining room with the tables still set, china and all, under sheets gone gray with dust. 4 floors of guest rooms, most of them locked, keys hanging on a board behind the front desk. Big brass keys with wooden fobs, each one numbered in fading ink. A service elevator that works, and a passenger elevator that doesn't. A boiler in the basement that a company comes to service twice a year. And windows. The Alderwood has more windows than any building that size has a right to. Tall ones, arched ones, bay windows in the corner suites, and every one of them looks out on the same thing, which is nothing. Fields, the county road, the tree line. In 60 years, the view has not changed, because there's nothing out there to change it. That's what I want you to hold on to. The view never changes, except when it does. The job, as Ford explained it my first night, was simple. I do rounds, 2 a night, 1 around 11 and 1 around 3, walking every floor with a flashlight and a clipboard, checking that no pipes burst, no windows broken, no animals gotten in. No kid from the county has climbed a fence to drink beer in an empty ballroom. I log each round. I note the boiler pressure. I note the weather. I sign the book at the front desk, an actual leather guest ledger repurposed as a log. And in the morning, I lock up and go home. Or I sleep in the caretaker's room off the lobby, which I do most nights, because 40 minutes each way isn't worth it. Ford walked me through it in about an hour. And at the end, at the door, keys in my hand, he stopped and gave me the rules. Not written. He said them out loud, casually, the way you'd tell a new guy where the good parking is. Do your rounds in order, ground floor up, never skip a floor. Always the same order. If a room's door is open that you locked, close it and log it. But don't go in. Don't use the passenger elevator even if it starts working. Especially if it starts working. And the last one, which he said lightly at the door, already half turned to leave. Don't stand at the windows on the upper floors at night. Do your check from the doorway. You'll see the room fine from the doorway. No reason to walk to the glass. I asked him why not. Old building, he said. Floors up there aren't sound near the walls. Bay windows especially. The joists are rotten. You put your weight near the glass on the 4th floor and you could go through. Insurance thing. Just check from the doorway. And he shook my hand and drove off down the county road, taillights shrinking, and left me alone in a hotel with no guests and 4 floors of windows looking out on nothing. The insurance explanation was good. That's the thing about the rules at the Alderwood. Every one of them has a reasonable version sitting right on top of it. And the reasonable version is true as far as it goes. And I lived on top of the reasonable versions for almost a year before I looked underneath. The routine settled in fast. It's a strange kind of peace, being paid to be alone. In a big quiet building, I do my 11 o'clock round, floor by floor, ground up, flashlight sweeping the old carpet, checking the locked doors, noting the boiler. And then I'd sit at the marble desk with a log and a thermos of coffee and read or text Marisol, or just listen to the building settle. Old buildings talk. The Alderwood talked all night, ticking and creaking and sighing as it cooled. And I learned its voice the way you learn a house you live in, so that I knew which sounds were the boiler and which were the wind in the 4th floor eaves and which were nothing, just wood remembering it used to be a tree. Marisol was the reason I stayed past the point where a smarter man might have left. My sister. She's older than me by 4 years, and she raised me more than our mother did. And when her marriage fell apart, she took the kids and no money, and I owed her more than I could ever pay. So when she needed help, I helped, and the Alderwood money helped. Her youngest, Elian, has a kidney thing, a chronic condition, manageable but expensive, endless appointments, and a medication that costs what it costs. And I put money toward it every month, quietly, and it mattered. And that's the honest reason I didn't quit the Alderwood when I should have. It paid Elian's pharmacy. You don't walk away from the thing that pays your nephew's pharmacy because the windows are strange. I want to tell you about the windows in pieces, the way I understood them, because I didn't understand them all at once. The 1st floor windows never do anything. I'll say that up front. Ground floor, the lobby, the dining room, the old sun porch. The windows there show the fields and the road and the dark, night after night. Ordinary. It's the upper floors. It's why the rule is about the upper floors. And it started for me on the 2nd floor, about 10 months in. On a night, I broke the rule for the most boring reason there is. I dropped my flashlight. I was checking room 214 from the doorway like I'm supposed to. And the flashlight slipped out of my hand and rolled across the floor toward the window. And I did the automatic thing. I went and picked it up. And I was at the glass, closer than the rule allows. And I looked out. And it was daytime. Not in the room, not in the building, in the window. Through the glass of room 214, it was a bright afternoon. Blue sky, the fields green and mowed instead of gray and overgrown. And there was a car in the drive that hasn't had a car in it since the Ford administration. A big old sedan with fins parked at the front steps, and a man in a hat carrying a suitcase up the steps toward the doors, toward the front doors, below the sill, out of sight. I stepped back. My heart was going. I looked at the window from the doorway, the way I'm supposed to. And from the doorway, it was night. Fields, road, dark. I walked to the glass again, and it was afternoon. The sedan, the man on the steps, gone now. I did that 3 or 4 times, backing up to the doorway and walking to the glass, night, day, night, day. And I understood, in a dull, sick way, that Ford's rule about the rotten joists was true on top, and something else underneath. That you don't stand at the windows because from the doorway, the windows lie to you and show you now. And from up close, they tell you the truth. And the truth is that the Alderwood's windows don't look out on the field. They look out on the days. Every window, a different day. I learned that slowly over the months after. Room 214's window showed that same afternoon most of the time, the sedan, the man with the suitcase, arriving, always arriving. Room 227 showed a snowstorm, a woman getting out of a taxi, coat pulled tight, hurrying up the steps. The bay window in the corner suite on 3 showed a summer evening, a whole family unloading a station wagon, kids and hat boxes and a dog, all of them going up the steps and in. Different days, different weather in each window on the same night. And in every one of them, someone was arriving, coming up the steps, going in the doors, below the sill, gone. In 6 years, I have looked through hundreds of the Alderwood's windows, and I have seen a great many people arrive, and I have never once, not one single time, seen anyone leave. That's the hotel. It keeps its guests. The rooms are empty because the guests aren't in the rooms. They're in the windows, forever arriving, forever going in. And the going in is the last you see of them. The Alderwood checked them in and never checked them out. I need to tell you about the co-worker, because for a long time I thought I was the only living person who knew. His name is Wes Duffy, and he's the maintenance man. The one who comes with the boiler company twice a year, but also on call when something breaks. And he's about 60, and he's been coming to the Alderwood since before I started. Since before the caretaker before me. And he knows the building better than anyone alive. We didn't talk much my first year. He'd come, fix the thing, sign my log, leave. But the winter after I learned about the windows, a pipe burst on 3 and Wes came out at midnight to deal with it. And I was jumpy, and he saw it. And while he worked, he said, not looking at me, "You've been up to the glass." I didn't answer. "Everybody does eventually," he said, wrenching a valve. "Ford tells you the joists thing, and it holds for a while, and then you drop something, or you get curious, and up you go. I went up my first month. Couldn't help it." He sat back on his heels. "You want to know what it is? Or you want to keep pretending it's rotten joists? Because I'll tell you, but Ford won't. And once you know, you can't put it back in the box." I told him I wanted to know. Wes is the one who taught me how to think about the Alderwood, and his philosophy is the only thing that's kept me sane in it, so I'll give it to you the way he gave it to me. He said, "The hotel is an evil. Get that idea out of your head first, because it's the idea that gets people hurt. The Alderwood is a hotel. It does what a hotel does. It takes people in, and it keeps them comfortable, and it doesn't let them leave. Because that's what this particular hotel is for. It's a place where certain arrivals go and stay. And it's been doing it so long and so patiently that it isn't angry about it, it isn't hungry, it isn't hunting. It's just running, like the boiler runs. And your job, the caretaker's job, the real one under the paper one, is to keep it running smooth and quiet and not to interfere with the guests, because the guests are checked in and paid up, and none of your business. And the day you make one of them your business is the day the hotel starts to think of you as staff instead of a caretaker. And staff, Wes said, don't get to go home. There's a difference, he said, between minding a hotel and working at one. You mind it. You do your rounds, you keep the boiler up, you log the nights, and you leave in the morning. You do not check anybody in. You do not check anybody out. You do not go to the glass and try to help the ones arriving, because you can't. They arrived a long time ago. And the only thing you'll do is make the hotel notice you got 2 hands and a warm body, and might make good permanent help. He gathered his tools. Ford knows this. Ford's known it for 30 years. That's why the rules. Every rule Ford gave you is a way of saying, mind it, don't work it. I asked him the question I'd been holding. The one that mattered. The people in the windows, I said. Are they alive? Somewhere? Are they people who are still out there and the hotel's just showing me the day they came? Or are they? Wes was quiet a while. Some of them came 100 years ago, he said. Some of them came last year. The hotel doesn't sort them by whether they're still breathing out in the world. It keeps the day they arrived. That's what the windows are. The hotel's memory of every check-in it ever took. And here's the part you won't like. It's still taking them. The windows aren't all old days. Some of those arrivals haven't happened yet. I didn't understand what he meant then. I do now. But that first winter, I just filed it, the way you file a thing too big to hold. And I went back to my rounds, and I started doing them the way Wes taught me, minding the hotel, not working it. There's a routine to minding it, and the routine is the thing that keeps you alive. So let me walk you through a night the way I do it now. 11 o'clock. Start at the boiler basement, check the pressure gauge, log it. Then ground floor, every room, from the doorway, flashlight sweep. Doors that should be locked are locked. Doors I find open I close and log, but don't enter. Ground floor windows I don't worry about. They don't do anything. Then up the service stairs, never the elevator, to the second floor. Second floor is where the windows start, so second floor I check from the doorways. Always the doorways. And I do not walk to the glass. I've learned to check a room's soundness from a doorway. You can see the whole room. You don't need the window. The window's not for you. But I look. I have to be honest that I look. From the doorway you see night in the glass, ordinary. But if you catch it at an angle, in the edge of the flashlight beam, sometimes you'll see it flicker, a smear of daylight, a shape on the steps, and you know that room's window is showing a day tonight, and you note which room. Because Wes taught me to keep a private count, separate from the official log. Which windows are active, which days are showing. It's how you keep track of what the hotel's thinking about. Third floor, same. Fourth floor, same. And the fourth floor is the worst, because the fourth floor's windows are the most active. The bay windows especially. And the fourth floor is where the arrivals are freshest, the recent ones. And once in a while, a fourth floor window shows a day so recent it hurts. A car you recognize, a person you almost know. Then back down the service stairs, 3 o'clock round, lighter version, and then the desk, the log, the coffee, the long quiet until morning. That's minding it. 6 years of minding it. And I got good at it, and it got almost peaceful again. The way anything does once it's routine, and Eliane's pharmacy got paid. And I told myself I had it handled. 3 things happened this past year that told me I didn't have it handled. And I'll give them to you in order, because the order matters. The first was the room that shouldn't be there. I've walked the Alderwood's floors 1,000 times. I know the count. Second floor, 14 rooms. Third, 14. Fourth, 12. Because the fourth floor gives up some space to the old ballroom. I know these numbers the way I know my own phone number. And one night, in the spring, I did my second floor round, and there were 15 doors. A new one, between 210 and 212, where there had never been a door, a plain door, no number, locked, and the wood of it was old, as old as every other door, dusty, like it had been there 60 years, except it hadn't, except I'd walked past that stretch of wall 1,000 times. I logged it. I didn't open it. Wes's rule, doors you didn't lock, you don't enter. I called Wes in the morning and told him, and he was quiet on the phone, and then he said, "New room. Hotel added a room. It does that sometimes when it's fixing to take on somebody it doesn't have space for. Leave it shut, Ruben. Don't even try the handle again. And by the next night, the door was gone. The walls smooth. 14 rooms. And I stood there and touched the plaster where a door had been. And there was nothing. And I put it in my private count, the one Wes taught me. Hotel made a room and unmade it. Getting ready for someone. The second thing was the passenger elevator. The dead one. The one Ford said never to use even if it starts working. It started working. I was at the desk one night, and I heard it. The hum, the old cables, and the brass arrow above the lobby doors, the one that's pointed at G for 6 years, started moving. Went up to 4, sat there, came down. Doors opened on an empty car, old carpet, mirror on the back wall gone brown with age. And in the mirror, for just a second, before the doors closed on their own, I saw the lobby behind me full of people. Guests. In old clothes, dozens of them, checking in at a marble desk that was clean and bright and staffed. A whole busy evening at a hotel that's been dead for 60 years. All of it in the mirror. None of it in the room. The doors closed. The arrow went back to G. And I sat there and did not get in the elevator. Because Ford said don't, and Wes said don't. And I understood now that the elevator is how the hotel offers you a ride down into what it is. And the mirror is it showing you the party you could join. And the rule against the elevator is the rule against being tempted. The third thing is the reason I'm telling you any of this. And it's the reason I can't mind the hotel the way I used to. And it happened 3 weeks ago. I was doing my 4th floor round. The bay window in the corner suite, room 412, the one that shows the summer evening, the family with the station wagon and the dog. I've seen that one 100 times. I know that family the way you know a photograph you've looked at too long. And I was passing the doorway, and I caught the flicker, and I looked from the doorway the way I'm supposed to. And the window wasn't showing the summer family. It was showing a gray afternoon, recent, the county road wet with rain, and a car pulling up to the front steps that I knew, a small blue car with a dent in the rear door that I put there myself backing into a pole 2 years ago, my sister's car, Marisol's car, and Marisol getting out of it in her good coat and going around to the passenger side and helping out a small boy, thin, pale, alien, my nephew, in a coat too big for him, and the two of them going up the steps of the Alderwood toward the front doors, arriving on a rainy afternoon that has not happened. And I stood in the doorway of room 412, and did not go to the glass, and watched my sister and my sick nephew climb the steps of a hotel that keeps everyone it checks in, and go in below the sill, and not come out. I have never told Marisol the Alderwood is anything but an easy, overnight job. She's never been here. She has no reason to come here. There is no rainy afternoon on any calendar where my sister drives my nephew 40 minutes down a county road to an empty hotel. It hasn't happened. And Wes told me, that first winter, wrenching a valve, some of those arrivals haven't happened yet. I called Wes that night. 3 in the morning. He picked up on the first ring, which told me he doesn't sleep either. I told him what I saw in 412. My sister, the boy, the blue car with the dent I made. He was quiet a long time. Long enough that I said his name to check he was still there. Ruben, he said finally. And his voice was careful, the way you're careful with someone standing near an edge. I need you to listen and not do anything tonight. Not tonight. You hear me? Whatever you're about to want to do, don't do it tonight. I asked him what it meant. A window showing someone who hasn't come what it means. It means the hotel's put in a reservation, Wes said. That's all a future window is. It's a booking. It doesn't mean it's coming for certain. Reservations get canceled. But it means the Alderwood's looking at your sister and that boy, and it's holding a room for them. And it means it knows they're yours. And Ruben. He stopped. It only shows you a reservation for people it thinks it can use to move you. Same as the elevator mirror. Same as the room it makes and unmakes. It's not threatening them. It's negotiating with you. It wants something, and it just showed you the price of saying no. I asked him what it could possibly want. And Wes said the thing I've been sitting with for 3 weeks. The thing that's had me at the desk every night since, with the log open and the coffee going cold, unable to do my rounds the easy way anymore. Looking at every window like it might have my family in it. It wants a caretaker who won't leave, he said. The last few of us, we all leave eventually. We get old, we get scared, we quit, we die. Ford's had to find a new nightman 6 times in 40 years. The hotel's tired of the turnover, Ruben. It wants somebody permanent. It wants somebody who's got a reason to stay checked in for good. And you gave it one. You told it, without meaning to, that you've got a sister and a sick boy you'd do anything for. So now it's holding a room for them. And it's going to keep holding it. And one of these nights, it's going to make you an offer. And the offer is going to be, you, permanent, staff, checked in for good. And in exchange, the reservation for them gets canceled. I didn't say anything. Don't go up to the glass in 412 again, he said. And whatever you do, don't go looking for the room it's holding for them. Because it'll show it to you. It'll want you to see it. A room all made up, ready, waiting, with their names on the reservation card. Do not go looking for that room. We hung up, and I sat at the marble desk in the lobby of the empty Alderwood, under the staircase that curves up into the dark, with the guest ledger open in front of me where I keep the log. And I did the thing you always do when you've been told not to, which is I turned back through the old pages, the decades of nightmen before me signing off their rounds, all those tired hands, and I don't know what I was looking for. Wes's name, maybe. Ford's. Some proof that other people had stood where I was standing. I found my own name. Not my signature from a past shift. Further back, 60 pages back, in the part of the ledger from before I was born. In ink gone brown with age, in a hand that was mine, the way I make my R, the way I cross my 7s. An entry dated a year before I was born that read, rounds complete, boiler steady. Room held on 4 for the sister and the boy. Reservation confirmed. And then my name, signed the way I sign it, on a night 60 years before I ever set foot in the Alderwood, above a column of the same entry, night after night, in my own handwriting. Going forward through the years to a date I haven't reached yet. All of it already written, all of it already signed. A whole career of nights I haven't worked. In a hotel that's been holding a room for my sister and my nephew since before any of us were born. The last entry in my hand, dated 3 weeks from tonight, is the only one that isn't around. It just says, checked in. And under it, where the guest ledger has a column that's meant for the room number, someone has already written the number of the room the hotel makes and unmakes on the 2nd floor, the one with no number on the door. The reservation card for it is going to have 3 names on it. I already know that. I haven't gone looking for the room, but I already know. I closed the ledger. That was the first thing I did, which tells you something about a man. That faced with 60 years of his own handwriting, he closes the book, like closing it, changes what's written. Then I opened it again and photographed the pages with my phone. All of them, the entry from before I was born. The column of rounds in my hand. The last line 3 weeks out that just said, checked in. I don't know who I thought I was going to show. Wes had already told me not to look. But a man who spends his nights with a clipboard reaches for paper the way a drowning man reaches for anything. And the photographs were me trying to make it evidence instead of a fact about my life. The photographs came out blank. Not black, not corrupted, blank. The pages in my phone showed the ledger open to 2 cream-colored pages with faint blue rules and nothing written on them at all. I held the phone up next to the open book, my nephew's name 3 weeks in the future on the paper and clean, empty lines on the screen. And I understood that the ledger doesn't want to be carried out of the building. It'll show you what it's holding. It won't let you take proof of it home. That's the difference, I think, between the hotel and a normal, terrible thing. A normal, terrible thing you can at least photograph. I called Marisol at 7 that morning, before I drove home, sitting in the truck in the gravel lot with the Alderwood behind me in the gray light, looking like exactly what it's supposed to look like, an old dead building nobody spent money on. She answered, groggy. Kids in the background, the ordinary noise of a house with a morning in it. I asked how Elian was. She said fine, tired. The new medication was making him queasy, but the doctor said that would settle. I asked, trying to sound like a man asking nothing, whether she had any reason to drive out my way anytime soon, out to the property, to see where I worked. And she laughed and said why on earth would she drag the kids 40 minutes to look at an empty hotel? And I laughed too. And I said no reason, just missed her. And I hung up and sat in the truck for a while. She had no reason to come. That was true this morning. The window in 412 wasn't showing a plan Marisol had. It was showing a plan the hotel had. For 2 weeks, I did the thing Wes told me to do, which was nothing. I did my rounds. Boiler, ground floor, service stairs, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, from the doorways, flashlight down. And I did not go to the glass in 412. And I did not go looking for the room the hotel makes and unmakes on 2. I minded it. I told myself that minding it was the whole of the job, and that if I just kept minding it, the reservation would stay a reservation, and reservations get canceled. Wes said so. But the routine started coming back wrong, one detail at a time, the way it always starts. The boiler was first, because the boiler's always first. It's the first thing on the round. I went down the basement stairs on a Tuesday, and checked the pressure gauge, and logged it. 12 pounds per square inch. Steady, same as always. And then I went to sign the basement log, the little separate sheet Wes keeps clipped to the boiler for the service company. And there was an entry on it in Wes's handwriting, dated that night, that read, "Told him not to go to 4. Hope he listens." And Wes hadn't been to the building in a month. It was Wes's hand, Wes's blocky capitals. And it was worried about me. And Wes was home asleep 40 minutes away. The hotel had started writing in his hand too. It wasn't just holding my future anymore. It was holding the people around me, learning their handwriting, the way it had learned mine 60 years before I was born. I called Wes. He didn't pick up the way he had at 3 in the morning 3 weeks earlier, on the first ring, wide awake. It rang out. I called again. 3rd time he answered, and his voice was thick and slow. And he said he was fine, just tired, been sleeping a lot lately, more than he used to, couldn't seem to stay awake past dark. I told him about the boiler log, his handwriting, the worried note. He was quiet for a long time, and then he said something that I've turned over every night since. He said, "That's not the hotel copying me, Ruben. I think that's me. I think I've started leaving notes there and not remembering. I think I've been going out there at night." A pause. My truck's got mud on it I can't account for. Miles I didn't drive. Another pause. I think it's checking me in slow. A man my age, it doesn't need a reservation and a window. It just needs to make me tired and let me drive out in my sleep. And one night, I won't drive back. I told him to stay home, to stop answering when it called. He laughed, tired, and said, "You don't answer it. It's not a phone. It's a place. It just gets easier and easier to go there." And then he said, "Listen to me while I can still be listened to. The room on 2, the one it makes and unmakes. There's a reservation card in it, and I need you to understand what's on it before it makes you an offer, because the offer's coming, and you can't take it blind." He breathed. "It's not 3 names. You keep thinking it's 3 names. You, your sister, the boy. It's not. Ford showed me once, 40 years ago. The card for the family it was holding for the caretaker before me. It's 1 name and 2 names. The caretaker's name is written as staff. Separate column. The loved ones are written as guests. And the deal, the actual deal it offers, is this. You sign yourself into the staff column permanent, forever. Checked in as the man who minds the hotel and never leaves. And it leaves the guest column blank. Your people don't get checked in. But you do. That's the trade. It's not you or them. It's you and them. Or you instead of them. And every caretaker before you took the second one. Every single one. That's why there's always a new night man, Ruben. They didn't quit. They signed. I asked him if he'd signed. If that was why he was falling asleep, driving out in the night. "I never had anybody it could use against me," he said. "No sister, no sick boy. Just me. So it couldn't make me the offer. It's just wearing me down the slow way instead. The way it does with the ones it can't bargain with. I'm 60. I'm tired. It's patient. That's all my ending is, Ruben. Quiet. Yours won't be quiet. Yours has a choice in it. That's worse. Choices are worse. I want to tell you about the rooms again, because part of minding the Alderwood is knowing the rooms. And in those 2 weeks, the rooms I thought I knew started telling me things I'd walked past for 6 years. 214, the one where I first went to the glass, the man in the hat with the suitcase. I stopped at its doorway one night and looked, and the window was showing its usual afternoon, the sedan, the man on the steps. But this time, I looked at the man properly, longer than I ever had, and he was young. And he had a way of holding his shoulders. And I realized I'd seen that carriage in old photos Ford kept in the office downstairs. Photos of the estate staff from decades back. The man in the hat, arriving forever in 214's window, wasn't a guest. He was a caretaker, an old one. The hotel wasn't just keeping the people it checked in. It was keeping its own staff, the nightmen who signed, forever arriving, forever coming up the steps to start a shift that never ends. 214 had been showing me my own future for 6 years, and I'd thought it was a stranger. 227. The woman in the snowstorm, hurrying out of the taxi. I'd always read her as a guest fleeing weather into a warm lobby. But I stood at that doorway and watched her now. And she wasn't hurrying toward shelter. She kept looking back at the taxi, at someone still in it. And her face wasn't cold. It was afraid. And she went up the steps the way you go somewhere you've decided to go and don't want to. And I understood 227 was a caretaker too. Or a caretaker's wife, someone who'd come to the Alderwood to fetch somebody out and had been checked in instead. The windows weren't a gallery of strangers. They were the staff and the families of the staff. The whole long chain of people the hotel had used to keep a man minding it. 60 years, 100, arriving one after another after another. And the corner suite on 3, the summer family with the station wagon and the dog, the one I'd loved like a photograph. I looked at the father now, unloading the wagon, and he had a way of crossing his sevens I'd have known anywhere. Because it's how I cross mine. Because it's how the man in the ledger from before I was born crossed his. And I understood the family in the window on 3 was a caretaker's family that had been checked in whole, all of them, kids and hat boxes and dog, because that caretaker had made the wrong choice or no choice at all, had let the guest column get filled. 3 was what happened when you didn't take the deal in time. 2, the room that makes and unmakes itself. Was the reservation still open? 3 was the reservation collected. I stopped doing my rounds properly after that. I couldn't. Every doorway was somebody's ending. I did the boiler, I did the ground floor, and then I'd stand at the bottom of the service stairs and not be able to go up. Because going up meant walking past 214 and 227 and the Summer family and knowing what they all were, and knowing that 412 had my sister's blue car in it with the dent I put there, waiting. Wes stopped answering his phone entirely on a Thursday. I drove to his place, a small house with a yard he kept nice, and his truck was in the drive with dried mud up the wheel wells, and the house was dark, and I knocked, and finally a neighbor came out and told me an ambulance had come 2 nights back, that Wes had been found asleep and they couldn't wake him properly, that he was in the county hospital, unresponsive. The doctors saying it was his heart or a stroke or something they couldn't name, sleeping and not waking. I drove to the hospital. They let me sit with him because I said I was family, a small lie, the kind you tell to get past a desk. He was breathing. His eyes moved under the lids like a man walking somewhere. And the whole time I sat there, I knew where he was walking. He was going up the steps of the Alderwood in a window I'd find on my next round. Arriving, a new pane lit up on some floor. Wes Duffy coming to work a shift that doesn't end. Checked in the slow way, the way it does the ones it can't bargain with. I found his window that night. 4th floor, room 405. A pane that had shown fields and dark for 6 years. And now it showed a gray dawn, and Wes's muddy truck in the drive. And Wes getting out slow, tired, in the coat I'd seen him wear 100 times. Going up the steps, below the sill, gone. I stood in the doorway of 405, and I didn't go to the glass, and I said his name out loud to an empty room. And the room didn't answer, because the room isn't the hotel. The room is just a room, and the hotel doesn't talk, it just keeps. That was the night I broke the rule. Not out of stupidity, out of the thing Wes said choices are worse than. I went looking for the room on 2. It was there, between 210 and 212, where there's usually smooth wall, the plain door, no number. And this time, it wasn't locked. The handle turned. Wes had said don't even try the handle. Wes was in a hospital bed, with his eyes walking. I went in. It was made up like a guest room ready for arrival. Bed turned down, corner folded neat, a lamp on, warm light, the only warm light in a building that runs on flashlights and dread. A little writing desk, a vase with flowers that weren't dead, real flowers, in a hotel where nothing's been alive for 60 years. And on the desk, a reservation card, cream stock, blue rules, the same paper as the ledger. And Wes was right. It wasn't 3 names. Staff, Ruben Castellano. Guests. 2 lines, and the 2 lines were filled, not blank, because it wasn't offering me the clean version anymore. It had run out of patience. Wes was checked in and gone, and it needed its next night man. And it was showing me the price of no Marisol Castellano. Elian Castellano. A check-in date 3 weeks out, the same date as the last entry in my ledger. And a room number for the guests. Not this room. This room was the staff room. Mine, the one the caretaker gets, warm and made up and forever. The guests had a different number. 3. The corner suite on 3. The summer family's room. Under the guest names, in the small print where a real hotel would put the rate, someone had written in my own hand, "Confirmed unless staff signs." I understood the offer completely then. Standing in a warm room that shouldn't exist, holding a card that had my family's names on it. Sign myself into the staff column, permanent. The man who minds the Alderwood and never goes home. And the guest lines get struck through. Refuse, keep my freedom, keep driving home in the mornings. And in 3 weeks, a gray, rainy afternoon arrives that I've already seen through the glass in 412. My sister's blue car. My nephew in a coat too big for him, coming up the steps, going in. Checked into the corner suite on 3 to arrive forever in a window. Some future night man will love like a photograph before he learns what it is. I sat on the made-up bed. I'm not proud of how long I sat there doing arithmetic, because there was arithmetic. There's always arithmetic. And it's always the worst thing about you, I thought. I could refuse and warn Marisol. Tell her the truth. Tell her to leave the state. And maybe the reservation gets canceled the way Wes said reservations sometimes do. Maybe you can outrun a booking. But Wes also said the hotel doesn't sort by whether you're still breathing in the world. It keeps the day you arrive. And if it's decided on a rainy afternoon 3 weeks out, then somewhere that afternoon is already glass. And I thought about the man in the hat in 214. And the summer family on 3. 60 years of caretakers who did this same math on this same bed. And every one of them signed, Wes said, every single one. And I'd always thought that made them cowards. And now I understood it made them people with sisters. I took the cheap pen off the desk. The hotel provides a pen. Of course it does. It's a hotel. And here's where I have to be honest about the compromise. Because it wasn't clean, and it wasn't brave, and there was no version where I walked out with everyone free. I signed the staff line. I wrote Ruben Castellano in my own hand into the column that meant I don't go home. And I watched the 2 guest lines, my sister's name and my nephew's name, do nothing at all for a long moment. And then slowly, the way ink dries in reverse, fade until the guest lines were blank cream paper again. Confirmed unless staff signs. I signed. I unconfirmed them. I checked myself in so they wouldn't be. The warm lamp went out. The flowers were dead when the light came back from my flashlight. 60 years dead. Dust. The made-up bed was a bare-stained mattress. The reservation card was blank except for one line now. The staff line, my name, and a check-in date that was no longer 3 weeks out. It was tonight. It's always tonight once you sign. That's the last thing the room taught me. There's no waiting period on the caretaker. I did the practical things after, because the practical things are all a man has. I finished my rounds. I logged them. I noted the boiler, 12 pounds per square inch, steady. I drove home in the morning, and I called Marisol. And I told her the easy overnight job was ending, that the property was being sold, that I'd be moving on. Small lies, the kind you tell so the people you love don't ask the real questions. I told her to use the money I'd saved for Elian's pharmacy, that I'd set some aside, which was true, I had. And I told her I loved her, which I don't say enough. And she got quiet and asked if I was okay, and I said I was tired, just tired. And that's the truest thing I said in the whole call. Wes woke up. 3 days after I signed, the hospital called the number he had listed, and somehow that was me. I don't know how. I never gave it to them. And they said he'd come around, confused but conscious, asking for his truck. His window in 405 went dark the next time I checked. Fields and night. Ordinary. The hotel let him go because it had me now. It only ever needed one. Wes came out to the Alderwood one last time, thin and shaky, and stood in the gravel lot and wouldn't come in. And he looked at me a long time, and he knew. He could see it on me the way I'd seen it on him at the hospital. And he said, "You signed." Not a question. I said I did. He said, "The boy?" I said blank. Guest lines blank. And Wes closed his eyes and nodded and said, "Then you did the only thing." And he got in his muddy truck, and he drove away down the county road, and he didn't come back. And I don't blame him, because there's nothing to come back to. The night man's already here. So this is the job now. The real one, the one under the paper one, the one I signed for. I mind the Alderwood. And I don't go home in the mornings anymore, not really. I drive the truck out and drive it back, and sometimes I can't remember which is which. Ford still pays into an account somewhere. The boiler company still comes twice a year. And I sign their sheet in my own hand, and that they don't notice anything wrong because there's nothing to notice. A caretaker signing a log is the most ordinary thing in the world. The rooms are still empty. The windows still show the days. And I do the rounds: boiler, ground floor, service stairs, second, third, fourth, from the doorways. And I mind the guests who arrive forever, and I don't interfere. Because I'm staff now. And staff know better than anyone that you don't help the ones in the glass. There's a new window active on the 4th floor. Room 412, where my sister's blue car used to be. The car's gone from it. The rainy afternoon's gone. It shows fields and dark now. Cancelled, unconfirmed. A booking that fell through. And every night I stand in that doorway and look at the empty, ordinary night in the glass. And it's the only window in the building I can stand to look at. Because it's the one that shows nothing. Because nothing is what I bought. But there's another new one. 2nd floor, 214, where the man in the hat arrives. 2 nights ago, a second pane lit beside it. A room that shows a gray morning and a truck I know. My truck, mud on the wheel wells, and a man getting out of it, tired, in a coat I own. Going up the steps of the Alderwood, below the sill, gone, arriving, forever. The way I'll arrive every night from now until some future man who's out of work and behind on everything takes a job watching an empty hotel and drops his flashlight and goes to the glass and sees me coming up the steps and thinks I'm a stranger. I keep the ledger current. I sign every round. And a few pages on from tonight, in my own hand, in ink that isn't brown yet but will be, there's already an entry I haven't written, dated years from now, that says rounds complete, boiler steady, room held on 4 for the new man's daughter, reservation confirmed. It's already looking. It's always already looking. I mind the hotel, and the hotel minds the arriving. And somewhere out on the county road, headlights are coming, slow the way they always come. And I go to the marble desk, and I get the key off the board, and I wait to check somebody in.